Hi and welcome to my channel. Now today's video is a follow-up from a previous video which I took these apart and had a look what's inside. Now if you want to go and have a little look at that video, I'll leave a link at the top. Okay, first of all, these were donated by a friend of mine called Jim, who I've known many years, so thanks Jim for donating these to the channel. That's fantastic. Now I've took a few other donations as well for other people, but Alex being one of them sent me a few bits and pieces over recently. And I'm not really doing it anymore really, like donations. That it's just that this come up being Bose. Now forget this at the moment, this is a Wolfdale speaker. We're going to kind of a bit of a comparison here. I've stuck that on there so you can see the size difference, just in case anyone doesn't know how big this speaker is. But yeah, as it was Bose, I thought I'll take this, yeah, definitely take it for the channel, because first of all, always interested in what Bose actually sounded like in your house. Because going back a few years ago, you could pop into a Bose shop here in the UK. They have them in a shopping mall. And it always just sells Bose, a bit like the Apple shop does, just sells Apple, and you could pop in there and get a little demonstration. The bloke will have it set up on the cinema screen, a big cinema screen, or big LCD TV, something like that. You stick this on and you crank the volume nice and high, so it sounds fantastic. You get plenty of bass kicking in, like you think, oh, this sounds good, you know what I mean? You've obviously got the right film there set up, so you're going to get the maximum out of it. And in the top end, you're going to get smashing glass and all that kind of stuff, shimmering of glass, car windows being broken and all that kind of stuff, explosions. And you're going to think, well, this sounds pretty good. And it did, you know, when I went in there, I thought, well, it sounds quite good. You'd be interested to see what it was like indoors when I compare it. I never really thought about using it as an HiFi item, as actually connecting up and using it as the HiFi. It was mainly for me to just for cinema. But people do connect these up and use these as HiFi. And reading reviews, it gets quite, you know, having reviews of different bits and pieces I've had over the channel. You obviously get a few mixed reviews, people like it and don't, but this seems to be quite a bit like nearly 50-50 kind of thing. Like when I look at the reviews, a lot of people like it and a lot of people don't like it. It's kind of in between. And you get these audio files, these other people saying, oh, it's fantastic and all that. I've had this, that and the other, and this sounds fantastic. And you get other people saying, oh, I've had this, that and the other, and this is rubbish kind of thing. So I thought it'd be interesting in that respect. I could actually get it in my house and listen to it. Now this is the AM-5 Mark 1. Apparently they've done a Mark 2 and a Mark 3, and the Mark 1 is considered to be the best sounding and better made of the 3 units. That's only going by reviews and people's faults that I've come across. I do not know myself, but I thought I'd mention that anyway. Also, this came out in the UK, as far as I know, around about £600 when it came out. So I just thought I'd mention that as well. You won't get this, you get the two. These are called twiddlers, but you probably call them satellite speakers with the stands and the main bass unit. Like I say, I've done a little review, well not review, a little look inside of all of them in case you want to look at that first. So what I'm going to do is tell you how this sounds. Okay, so let's talk about I'm only going to touch on the movie bit, just going to touch on it right at the end of the video really, but let's talk about sound wise if we was connecting this up to the HiFi. This is the main interest for me really. You know, people say this sounds good as HiFi and some people say it doesn't sound so good. So, and this is what this channel is really about, is HiFi. So I thought it'd be interesting to see, it's only my opinion, what I think of this particular unit HiFi wise, how does it actually sound, and we're going to kind of compare it. That's why I bought these little Wolfdales, because these are the smallest speakers I've got. These are little twiddlers. Be interesting how these sound compared to these being quite a lot bigger. And I'm going to go a little bit further. I've got a pair of, I can't bring them here behind you, behind me, not behind you. Have a look behind them, maybe, have a little look. But yeah, they're over there, they're in front of me, not even behind me, they're in front of me. A pair of Solarvox A45 speakers. Now, volume wise, when I say volume, size wise, they're about 2.5 sizes bigger than this. So they've got plenty of size cabinet wise. They've got 2 dedicated 8-inch drivers, bass speakers, shall we say, and each speaker, so they're quite big, so we're expecting to get more bass out of them than we do this, but we'll talk about that as we go along. Okay, so what I'm going to do is first impressions. Like I say, I was always interested to what these sounded like. You know, when you're in the shop to when you actually get it home. Obviously when you go to buy a TV in the shop, they put a 4K picture on there, looks absolutely fantastic, and you come home and you think, not quite the same picture indoors. But they always use the iris resolute, the iris kind of bit rate and all that kind of stuff in the shot, the best possible picture to make you buy that TV. And obviously when you come home, it's a little bit different. I could tell you a story actually, but I won't bore you about something that happened in Tenerife, but forget about that anyway. That's another story. It's quite funny. Okay, so yeah, okay, so I set this up without any comparisons first of all, so let's just listen to it as it is and see what I think about it. And sometimes first impressions, you know, like buying a car or something like that, you buy something brand new or something, or you get it and you think, well, that's pretty good, and a little while down the line you start finding some nitpicks as you go along. So just want to first impressions, you set this up as I did. And I thought, yeah, this sounds pretty good. I was quite surprised considering this is only a little pair, you know, little speakers here. These are, let's just get this, without the stand, these are only 19 centimetres high, 6 wide and about 8 deep centimetres this is. And this is about a 2.5 inch speaker, I think this here. This is a 3.5, it looks quite a lot bigger. I'm sure this is a 3.5, but this is a 2.5. It may only be a 2, it's something like that anyway. Speaker, and it's not got a dedicated tweeter. These are 2 speakers, they're both the same, they're right up in series these. There's a little capacitor across one of them if you flick a switch, we'll talk about that a bit later on. But this has got a dedicated tweeter as well, so it's a little bit different. So yeah, turning them on, I thought, yeah, this sounds pretty good, like it doesn't sound too bad at all. I thought it sounded pretty neutral to a certain extent. Yeah, I thought it sounded pretty neutral across the range, and I thought, yeah, it doesn't sound too bad. Yeah, it's pretty good. You know, quite surprised at how small it was, and I think that's what gets you. You think, well, this is very small, not expecting much, and to get something, you know, decent out of it, you think, oh, it sounds pretty good. But then over a little bit of a period of time kind of kicks in, and especially when we start doing comparisons. I had these set up next to these units here, obviously not next to this is on the floor. Oh, by the way, I've got wooden floors as well. When I say wooden floors, it's actually wood, then a gap, then I've got concrete underneath, so it's a suspended wooden floor. So I'm probably going to, this is upstairs and downstairs, well, upstairs, it's got no concrete, upstairs is a wooden floor, but downstairs it's a suspended floor. So we're expecting to get a little bit more bass out of this unit. Maybe if you've got a concrete floor, it probably subdued it a little bit, I would have thought, on carpets, etc. Mine is just a wooden floor. Okay, so yeah, setting it up, like I say, you know, it sounded pretty good and everything. It's not until I kind of brought these in here and started doing the A-B kind of in between. So let's go across it. So we're going to do an A-B comparison. This is a comparison. Then we're going to forget about the comparison. We're going to talk about some other bits and pieces and how these sounded, and a few, I won't say tricks, but a few little surprises they kind of give as well. A few extra things that these wouldn't give, that these will or should do. They did do in my particular case. I'm not saying it's definitely going to do it in your own, but you probably will hear it, I think. Okay, so if we go to the top end here first of all, now it's going to be hard for me to explain. I'm not very good at doing things, you know, kind of doing sounds and what's the word? I'm not trying to think what it is, but kind of you'll get what I'm on about anyway. So if we do the top end, when we do the comparison with the top end, even though this top end sounds pretty good, it's just missing the extra detail, that finesse, the extra detail. And this is very apparent. It sounds a little bit, we could say it sounds a little bit gritty, just a little bit gritty, but this is the kind of speaker we're coming at, just a little bit, when we compare it to this speaker here. But overall, it sounds okay, don't get me wrong. But when we compare it to this here, when you're doing a hi-hat, and a hi-hat is 2 cymbals upside down against each other on a stand. You're going to know what an hi-hat is, and you kind of press the pedal, and they come down, you let go, and you kind of... So what we're concentrating here is not the, it's a tss, the let go, as they come apart, these 2 cymbals, it gives a tss, tss, tss sound. Very apparent here, very clear, very much detailed, on tracks obviously you've got it, it's very much detailed there, it's a tss, and it's nice decay, sounds just right. On these speakers here, rather than getting that tss, you're just getting that tss, tss, tss. We're not getting that tss, tss, tss. That's missing, tss is missing. Not getting that on these speakers here. So that's the extra detail you're getting, the extra resolution, you're getting extra detail, you're getting that decay. Which obviously, this is HiFi, even though it's budget, it's low end, this is HiFi, we would class this as HiFi. And you're probably not going to class this as HiFi in that department, even though it gives a good sound. It sounds still okay, because the mids and that are quite good. In fact, they're probably just a little bit of emphasis, just a tad little bit of emphasis on the mids, the vocals, sax kind of playing, all that kind of stuff. Quite, you know, reasonably punchy in that. Sounds pretty good. But when we go down to the bottom end again here, even though this gives the bass, I wouldn't say it's very weighty, it's got a fair amount of bass. Make sure you wire this up right, because some people, I don't think, why is this? Some people say it's got no bass. It has got bass. You must have the positive of your amplifier going to the positive input on here, and negative speaker wires. And also make sure you do it the same when you go to here. You make sure you put them positive, negative. Otherwise you're going to get the sound stage is going to be mucked up as well. We'll come to that in a minute, how it Soundstage now. But as we go to the bass on there, it just seems that even on these speakers here, these give the extra resolution, the extra detail in the bass. It's just missing something on here. It's like it's just missing some of them, you know, when it goes from the low bass to say the mid, it just seems like some of it's a little bit missing. Some of that detail is missing. They're kind of like it's been cut out. You're not getting it all. With Here You Are, it's like I say, and you can move this around the room. As you move this around the room, you've got the ports at the back here. Depending where these ports are facing, you can face it against the wall, try and in the corner or something, try and get a little bit extra more bass out of it. You bring it into the room, or you may put it behind the sofa. Just a little bit mucking around, and just even turning this box around the other way, you will get some slight deviations in the bass as well. It's worth experimenting as well with this box. Obviously, don't have it upright like that. You've got to have it this way, otherwise the bass just goes up in it, and it don't look right anyway. But so have it laying down as is. And just a bit of experimenting, move it around the room, etc. Obviously, depending how far away your amplifier is and how far away these satellites are and the length of wire we're going to be using, you can move around and experiment a little bit with this. So you've got quite a bit of experimentation. You can have even more in a minute when we come to the satellites, but quite a bit of experimentation here. But like I say, the bass is okay. It's, you know, it's good enough. It's got a reasonable amount of bass to it. You know, I mean, I wouldn't say it's bass shy, but it's not got as much. It's, you know, it's on par. It's probably got a bit more bass than these has, to be honest with you, but it hasn't got the detail. It's just missing some of that detail in that bass. Seems like you're just missing bits and pieces of it as it goes from low to kind of mid bass. You're just missing bits and pieces. Bits of it's not quite coming through, not giving me that bit that's missing, kind of thing. Hasn't got the body kind of thing, that kind of stuff. Especially when we compare it to an A45, it's a bit unfair, we would say, but they're like more of a luxury bass. It's a very luxury. It's a bigger bass. It's a stronger bass. It's a deeper bass because they've got two speakers. It's a bigger cabinet. It's a deeper bass. It's a stronger bass. It's a luxurious bass. It's giving you all the parts of the bass, all the bits of the bass. It's giving you. Well, this is missing bits. Like I say, it just seems like it's missing little bits here and there. I'm not getting the full body. I'm not getting the full range kind of thing. Only apparent when we do that. You know, that when we compare it against other speakers, you may not pick up on that first of all. If you just bought this for as is and you haven't got anything to compare it with, you think, oh, this sounds all right, and it does, but you're just missing when you start going to hi-fi kind of territory. Even bottom end, we're talking about it. Don't forget, this is the bottom end channel. You are missing that bit. So we would class this just under hi-fi. I wouldn't class this as hi-fi if we were going to use it hi-fi wise. We are missing some bits. So I don't want to miss anything out because there's a few bits and pieces that this can't do, this seems to do for some reason. So let's talk about that. First of all, the Soundstage is pretty good. It's got it can have quite a depth to it, that sound, so it can go quite deep. I did read some review, some bloke said, oh, it sounded like the bloke was 100 metres away in the distance kind of thing, right down there, like miles away, but it won't go that far, but it is in the distance, you know, it kind of goes back. Depending how you twiddle these speakers, these twiddlers, depending how you have these, because obviously on the stand you could have one going that way, one going this way, etc. And they say that when you're bouncing it off, say you had a wall here, you're bouncing off the wall, flick the switch to reflecting. Now you can leave the switch on reflecting when it's aiming straight at you. And you can kind of create these little effects depending where you got these facing, whether it's on reflection or not. So you've got a few options here, more than a few, because you can turn that around an inch at a time. And depending where you've got quite a few variations. There's quite a lot of variations here, and you will get different effects. I had effects where that, you know, things were in the back. They was in the back, and I thought, oh blimey, it does sound quite, you know, it sounds a distance away, not 100 metre, but it sounds a little bit of a distance away. Not what I was getting with these, just a bit deeper into the Soundstage. And like I say, flick it round, and you get a few bouncing and that. I did notice not always sitting dead centre, you know, sitting in the sweet spot, but sitting to one side. I'll be sitting to one side, and I'm thinking, well, I can hear a noise over there, which I could. The speakers are here, but I could hear something. I thought it sounds like it's coming from over there, just behind me, and it did sound like it. You maybe get a bit of a twinkle, you know, but or something like that, you know, a little bit of a noise coming in. You think, oh, it sounds like it's coming over from there, you know, where this is bouncing off the wall kind of thing. So you do get that. So it's got like some extra little features that you can have a little bit of a muck around with. They're interesting. But you know, what I would say is don't expect hi-fi, even bottom end hi-fi sound. When I say bottom end, obviously if you went out and got I don't know, a cheap Technics amp, I'm just picking up off the floor, you know, things that ain't rated very good, and a cheap pair of speakers or something like that, they're probably going to be on par. You know what I mean? They're probably going to sound similar to this. It's only when you get the bottom. This is bottom end hi-fi, but this is reasonable stuff. You know what I mean? The stuff I've got I keep kind of think, even though it's bottom end, it's got a reasonable amount of sound to it. You know, it's got a reasonable amount of detail, should I say, to it. You know, you can class it as hi-fi. Where some of the stuff, some of the cheap stuff, even, you know, the bottom of the range, some stuff is not always the case. It's a bit trashy. It's a bit, you know, it's a bit. It's not so, you know, it's not so clear, shall I say. It's a bit tizzy, shall we say, that kind of bit gritty kind of thing. It can be a bit gritty kind of thing. So you know, hi-fi wise, I wouldn't class it as hi-fi. But it's close enough. It's close enough, and you're going to enjoy yourself. You're going to put it on, and you think, oh, it sounds all right. You're not going to pay a lot for this neither. On eBay, these go for roughly about £100, somewhere around there. I'm guessing a little bit, because some go a little bit more. Obviously, some go a little bit less, depending on condition, who's selling it, bid up, all that kind of stuff, collection, and all that kind of stuff. But a ballpark figure about £100 here in the UK, and I think for £100, you know, it's pretty good. You know, especially if you're going to use it for films as well. I did go downstairs, like I say, listen to a few films like being played. I didn't watch the old film, just bits and pieces of the films. Top Gun, all that kind of stuff, the jets flying in and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty good. You know what I mean? Film-wise, you're going to be, you know, reasonably happy with this, I think. You know, you're not going to be listening to, when he drops the glass, you're not going to go, oh, it should have a bit more tss to the glass and all that. You're not going to be interested. It's going to sound like glass smashing. You're going to think, oh, it's fantastic. Window screen smashing, some explosions and all that. You're not going to say, oh, that explosion should have had a little bit, bit more to it, a bit more, you know, missed out a couple of little bit of frequencies there. Some little chunks of that explosion were missing. You're not even going to think about that, you know what I mean? You're not going to think about it. And it's got a reasonable amount of bass to it, like in a smallish, you know, not too big a room. I think if the room went too big, you would lose the bass, you know what I mean? So as long as your room ain't too big, if you've got a small to medium sized living room or something like that, and you're going to set this up as hi-fi, but also as the cinema as well, you're going to get a reasonable amount of bass of it. I did see some people actually using two of these, connecting up two. I think it's a video or somewhere that I did see. It's on the forums where a bloke used two of these to get the extra bass. But I think it's got enough bass there for what it is, for the size of it, etc. It's not overpowering. It's quite a well balanced bass. That's the one good thing about it. I did have an Oki or something like that, which was a sound bar and a bass unit. As soon as you turn the bass unit on, it's just overpowering. They just had, and there's no way of turning it down. You can turn it up, but you couldn't turn it down any lower. And it was just overpowering, that bass, where they kept the bass realistic here. If anything, just on the lean side, just a tad on the lean side, but it's still okay. You know what I mean? You're still going to get some oomph out of it, kind of thing. And especially if you're watching films, you're usually going to have that volume turned up at a reasonable level, and that's probably the reason they got it in the Bose shops. They turn it full on to really kick this in. I did try it with a few different amplifiers, which is another thing I want to mention, is that I tried it with this amplifier here. Now, this is just one of them cheap digital amplifiers. I think they're about £25. And when I compare it, and they're not great, you know what I mean? They're not, I won't bother. But when I compared it to the Sound series, the few different Sound series I tried, and my little Cambridge as well, you could tell the difference. You could tell, you know, it was good enough to tell that you was putting that different amp on, that different characteristics was coming through. It weren't though, it was just, if I put this on, then I put a Sound series on, it sounded pretty much the same. It wasn't the case, so it was good enough to get that detail, the amplifier was giving that extra detail, it was coming through, but it couldn't do it obviously as good as this Wolfdale, or as good as the other speakers I used, because it can't give that finesse, that extra detail. And like I say, especially like when you're talking about like that top end, where that's, you know, it just can give that decay, it just can give that extra detail that you'd come to, you know, you want, and comes with hi-fi, when you call something hi-fi. When I say this is just below that hi-fi, if hi-fi was here, it would be just below kind of thing. It's okay, and you wouldn't notice really until you've done the A-B comparison. So I think, like I say, for £100, it's not a bad buy at all. You know, it's pretty good. And the vocals come out really good as well. And I thought the vocals come out pretty good, and also especially with the films, it's very clear, the vocals as well. I think it's just slightly, I say slightly orientated to that kind of frequency, so you could always hear the vocals. There's no missing what was happening in the film kind of thing. I think I mentioned it all now, and the only other thing I didn't mention that in the other video, I did try and get the bulbs. There's some bulbs inside here. I didn't really mention in the other video, some bulbs inside this crossover, and people said that if you look down the tubes, you can see them light up kind of thing. And I thought, oh, it'd be a great video to do. But my amplifier, my top of the range, my basic amplifier I've got at top of the range, is a Sansu 317. I think it gives out about 50 watts. And this is rated 100 watts. I did crank it up quite high, near enough foot on actually, and I couldn't get them bulbs to even glimmer. So I think it probably does need that 100 watt amp, you know, quite a beefy amp, and quite a big bang, or say, no, quite a surge with a signal like music or whatever, or film, big surge, and they may well light up. So if you do get one of these and you cranked it right up and you can get to the subwoofer wherever you put it in the house, you want to stick your nose in there down the tube and see if you can see it glowing at any stage, and you know that you're giving it a full whack kind of thing. Okay, that's it. So yeah, it comes recommended. Don't expect too much in the HiFi stakes, but film wise and that, it was great. You know what I mean? It was pretty good. And even so, like I say, you know, if you're just going to use it as a daily thing for your HiFi CD, you're not going to be worried too much about that extra kind of thing and all that. You just going to, you know, it's got a good sound. You know, it sounds pretty good. Okay, so that's it. Until the next video, I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.